Hello and welcome back to Bricking It. So today we're going to be looking at almost a side project to our Hogwarts Castle MOC, although it's actually become quite an integral part of the project overall, and that is our Hogwarts Moments books collection. Now you may notice these guys look quite different from the originals, or at least some of them do. I'll explain a little bit about what's going on here now. So initially I started collecting the Lego Harry Potter range with the Hogwarts Moments books. I liked that they were compact, they presented a nice little display feature, and you could collect a good little classroom setup scene in one complete package. Now as time went on and I'd completed the first 4 Moments books, I was looking around for something else to do. I knew I didn't have really the space to build a large castle, so the Moments suited me nicely. And then I found on repurposed.com the magical tower made up of the contents of these Hogwarts Moments books in a slightly different format, actually laid out as a building by themselves, and that led me on to eventually creating my castle MOC. But that left me with a number of empty book covers, and it stayed that way for a while, and I wasn't really sure what to do with them until I hit upon the idea of the modular build out or modular loadouts for a lot of my castle units. And that's when the books were going to come into their own. Around this time I was also trying to decide what to do with the rather ugly exterior of my castle, and I thought if I had it on the shelves lined up with these lovely books, I could put a facade on the front to make it look like a large bookshelf. And I even, inspiration leading to instant shopping, went on to Bricklink and ordered some parts and started mocking up a bookshelf facade. You'll see how far that project got just by the way it looks at the moment. That would be attached to the front of the castle, and then when lined up with all the other books it would just look like a complete bookshelf that you could get a nice little surprise out of by opening up the castle and revealing all the modules on the inside. I still haven't completely abandoned that idea, and it's maybe a direction I go, but for now the Hogwarts Moments books sort of stand as a little side project alone, but linking into the main project as a whole. Now I've waffled long enough, let's have a look inside some of these books. First of all, we've got the Herbology book. It's actually my favourite colour of cover, and one that I'll probably get more of, and you can see I've used these profile bricks along the top to create that page effect, something we've seen I think in the Monster Book and Monsters before, not a set I own. Looks pretty normal from the outside until you roll it round and we see it's full of foliage. So it's pure coincidence that I chose the Herbology cover just to hold all of this foliage. Now, it seems like a weird content for a book, and it doesn't really present as much of anything unto itself, but all of these parts are actually used within other modules in the castle build itself. I'll be presenting these in the future, but at the bottom here we just have a small little module for use on the corridor outside the Defences Against the Dark Arts teacher's office. That represents the little bit of swamp that was left over after Fred and George left the castle. And these other elements here, this line of ground cover and these foliage elements hanging from the side, will be for the other ground floor module, which in our last video we showed as a grand staircase, and that's when this unit is used as Firenze's classroom. So again, lots of bits that don't always need to be on the castle, but now can store away nicely in book form. This second one was actually the first one I created. It's got covers all the way around, start bowing in the bricks, unfortunately. I took the details off the back of the cover, replaced it with some plain bricks, just because it doesn't bear any relevance to charms anymore, as inside we find the contents of our room of requirement module. So when the room of requirement is being used, or not being used rather, as the training room or a campsite for our students in the 7th year, it generally displays as this junk unit, and this will just pop in to the front of the room of requirement. It's got some nice little bits in there, some beans, Harry's advanced potion book that he's hidden in there, an old bus with a terrible wig and a dusty old crown on top. Could there be more meaning to that? The inexplicable yellow frog, which I don't really understand. A few of our other books and bits and bobs that children have thrown away over the years. And again at the back, nothing particularly special. And then this will just plug into the cover element by use of these 3 brackets here, so that when we are not displaying our room of requirement as a junk room, you can just sit in there, be shut up in its cover, and sit on the shelf out of the way. This large wide book I've made, you can probably see I've got the hinge plate there, and I've just extended it with an extra 2-stud plate there. And we've got another wider plate on top, 4-stud plate on top of that, just to promote this wider cover. Got some sticker elements that I picked up off Bricklink. In fact, this one's a printed element from one of the earlier Harry Potter sets. I need to replace these 2 ingot pieces with normal silver plate, or tile rather. And inside this one is all sorts of things. So this really is not a particularly pretty one on the inside. You can see it's one of my original books. Still got some of the old stickers inside. So here on this side we have our platform for our dueling club, again with that multi-purpose unit at the bottom. That's currently a staircase. It's set up as a dueling club. We've got a platform. We have a statue of the humpback witch for the defense against the dark arts corridor. This piece here, and these heads obviously make our Fluffy. Now I don't have the full Fluffy and the full Fluffy encounter, so I didn't want to be spending out on the full set when I wasn't going to be displaying it most of the time. So I've just made this little facade compromise, which again you'll see when we cover the dark arts section. Here for the corridor we have a 2nd year corridor display, and the 3rd display for that corridor is pretty dull at the moment. Honestly, there's nothing there, but eventually when the Dumbledore's office set is released and we get that new sticker piece for the Griffin door, that is going to go there, and that will be an extra little feature that we can have in that 3rd, 4th corridor. I knock all the pieces all over the place. I have a feeling this isn't going to close for me now. Pop the witch back in there. Come on, Fluffy, what are we playing at? No, we'll abandon that one, and we'll see it again later. So these next few are slightly different, as they're not just pure storage. These ones here are our defense against the dark arts options. So this one's looking fairly plain at the moment, because we're actually displaying a 3rd year set in our castle, and that shows a lot of the furniture elements with our 4th year set, which obviously features Mad-Eye Moody. He's got his dark detectors and his staff down there. That's where the rest of the furniture goes. There's his chest containing his mini-me. One element of the 3rd year set we haven't put up, And that's the Dementor, which will be coming out of the tea chest for when Lupin and Harry practice defeat the Patronus charm in Lupin's office. That's one of our Dark Arts books. The other one contains our Year 1, 2 and 5 teachers and the elements of their office. So there we have Lockhart, all his portraits, photographs. Professor Quirrell, you may know he doesn't actually use the Dark Arts classroom because obviously the 3rd floor is off limits during his year, and so we display Fuffy up there at that time, and he'll be in that multi-use room down on the ground floor, using some of the other teacher elements just to make it look a bit more classroom-like. Professor Umbridge, these wall panels actually decorate her office at the moment, plain pink tiles, but thanks to our new Ministry of Magic set coming out in June 2022, we will hopefully be able to get some cat plate tiles to replace those. We have a Cornish pixie and Umbridge's office, and these elements will swap in and out based on the year that we're displaying, and otherwise they'll be stored on the shelf. Now you can see that this one's got a charm sticker on, just because I wasn't really using it as part of the charms classroom, and it just allows me to know which of the 2 books I'm picking up. Is it book with teachers who are members of the Order of the Phoenix or not? So these next 3 may well be fairly obvious. We're using stickers from Diagon Alley there, all repurposed from Quality Quidditch Supplies, a couple of castle crests, a golden snitch sticker from the Magical Trunk set, which is also where these lovely house specific tiles come from. On the front of each of these 2 we have some house badges, and that may give you an idea of what's inside. This is going to be the display for our Quidditch teams. So in one we have Hufflepuff and Slytherin, and Gryffindor and Ravenclaw in the other. Now as you can see, my teams are not yet complete. Still waiting for some heads to arrive. Debating back and forth with myself whether I want them to be wearing cloaks or not. We've got some grey legs there. Those are just placeholders while I hold the torsos in their place. Now you can see that my teams aren't strictly canon, if canon at all. Got all kinds of headgear. The flying helmets as worn by Ron in the 6th movie. One of our Slytherin players has got a scarf around his face and his hood of his robes pulled up to keep him protected from the weather. And we've got a Ravenclaw with her hood up. Now our Gryffindor class team is mostly as per the books, or one of the early configurations of the team. You've got Wood in the middle there, Katie, Angelina and Alicia Spinette there, chasers, and Fred and George still awaiting their wigs, flanking Harry on that side. I've decided on the position display, and it largely won't matter as these aren't going to represent necessarily particular characters from the books and movies, especially for Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff teams where we don't really get them named. There you can see we've got a sort of Cho, and we've got our Cedric Diggory from the books. Close these up. In fact, let's leave them open for now and complete the display of our Quidditch with our Quality Supplies book. This one has a slightly different format for the pages. It just sits there in the middle. And here inside you can see brooms for 2 teams, beaters, bats, flags, still waiting on a couple of silver flags just to complete the Slytherin and Ravenclaw flags, the Quidditch shield and cup, and then a set of balls at the bottom. So one of my early plans was to actually use these book covers to make a fold-away Quidditch pitch, and it's not a plan I've completely abandoned. It's just difficult to engineer when you've only got 4 studs wide of space to make your creations. There's only so much you can fit inside the books without having to essentially build the whole thing every time you want to get it out. But those are our displays for our Quidditch teams, and once they're complete I'll update those in a video, and we may even work out somewhere for them to play a match at some point in the future. And here our last book. I think I'm going to change the colour of this one, but as I had an extra Transfiguration book cover, that's what I used. And inside here we have a collection of Death Eaters. You can see we've got custom sticker arrangement on this one. We've got 4 of those Transfiguration classroom stickers that match the book cover. Just gives that idea that they're in the castle themselves. We've got Bellatrix, Voldemort and Narcissa. Lucius there with his mask on, just waiting for a hairpiece to come for him. Random Death Eaters there, just custom builds. And here we have McNair the Executioner, and on top here 2 more random custom Death Eaters and Fenrir Greyback. So that's how I'm using the Hogwarts Moment covers at the moment. There are more to come. I'm going to be adding some more bits and pieces to store away necessary elements for my castle. But for now, that's as it stands. With of course a fluffy one that I can't do one-handed. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like. If you have any questions about these builds, ask them in the comments below and I'll try and get back to you. If you feel like it, please subscribe to the channel, share the video around so other people can see these ideas, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.